back in 2015, we heard the news that a bill had been passed allowing roads to be closed for sporting events, including motorsport. Now, we thought we were perhaps getting a bit too excited about this and perhaps a little ahead of ourselves. What would it mean? 4 years in, where would we be? I'll tell you where we are. We are starting today our third closed road rally in England. We've had two already, and this is the Hillsford Three Shires Rally, taking place across Worcestershire, Gloucestershire and Herefordshire. 48 stage miles over 18 stages, including a stately home stage here at Eastnor Castle. A beautiful setting and a fantastic place to introduce spectators, new and old, to this beautiful sport. Let's see how this rally ends up. It's exciting, isn't it? A new rally for the calendar. Good luck to the organisers. The spectators are already gathering at the side of the stage. Let's go. On to the first of those stages then, and it would be the lead for Martin and Dawn England, and a convincing lead at that, opening out a 24-second advantage after the morning's 6 stages. Second place at this stage, but not quite on the pace they need to be fighting for that first position, will be Roger Moran and Den Golding. First of our rear-wheel drive crews on the leaderboard, though, as well, in that immaculate-looking Darien. And rounding out the early podium positions would be John Indry and Matthew Smalley. The Mitsubishi Mirage pair leading the way in their class as well from that position. We don't see Alex Allingham and Ross Weir out much these days, but this weekend they'd be out at the wheel of an Escort. Not usually a rear-wheel drive man, Alex, of course. He was certainly throwing that car around like it was second nature. Not just sideways either, but fast, lying in 4th place overall. There'd be another Darien as well, sandwiching Allingham in the middle in our results in 5th place. Andy Fraser and Alan Jones taking that position over the morning stages, and of course with it, second in the class behind Moran. Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff venture over from Wales to sample the Three Shires stages this weekend, and they get off to a good start as well. They end the morning 6th place overall, second in Class F. For Oliver Hopkins and Aled Edwards, meanwhile, it will be 7th place to start the day. The pair no strangers to these kinds of stages, having competed in the Asphalt Championship. They were putting their experience to good use and making their mark this weekend. Mark Holmes and Mark Perryman bring the fantastic sounding Fiesta S2000 out for a run this weekend, starting the day with 8th. The car coping well with the technical stages, keeping those revs up and making us wonder why we don't see more of these cars still out. Daryl Morris and Steve Gully make the journey over from Jersey to compete this weekend. Regulars on the Jersey Rally, they'd be used to the tight and twisty style of lanes. Clearly it was showing as well. The lead of Class C and 9th overall to show for their journey and their efforts so far. And rounding out the top 10 leaderboard at this stage would be Mike Simpson and Dale Gibbons. The Mark 1 Escort pair pushing higher than their seeding so far as well. It's not all about that top 10 though. Let's take a look at some of the class positions just outside of that top 10 leaderboard. And it would be the lead for Class B for Ashley Field and Josh Davison, out this weekend in the Opel Adam, and clearly going well in it. For Jeff Phelps and Lucy Wilding will be second in Class C, going well in the overall results as well with 16th place. And second place in Class B, pushing hard. It will be a significant one this weekend as Richard Hill and Pereira Davies take up that position. The event, of course, sponsored by Hillsford. So it was great to see one of the team's cars up this high on the leaderboard. In Class A, we see Ben and Kevin Wilson taking the lead. The Citroën AX, not a common car anymore out in these lanes, but great to see something different out on the stages, and with it being so competitive too. Second in that class, and coming here with high expectations, it will be Joe and Michael Evitt. Sadly, the pair struggling a little with intercom problems, perhaps robbing us of a fight for that class lead. And there'd be worse luck still for some. We'd lose Nigel Mee and John Fellows early into the rally when they get caught out and end up crashing into a bank on the second stage of the day. We'd also lose Josh Taylor and Heather Merrison. They chose to end their rally in front of the spectators at Deer Park, crashing into a hidden rock on the outside of this corner. So we're one loop down, 2 more to go for the crews on this, the inaugural Hills Ford 3 Shires stages. And the leaderboard at the top is looking like this. Here we go then, back into the lanes for the next loop of stages. And things at the top of our leaderboard here on the 3 Shires rally would remain the same. Martin and Dawn England continuing to hold on to the lead of the rally, extending that advantage at the front as well. For Roger Moran and Den Golding, it would still be that second place. They couldn't quite catch the four-wheel drive power up ahead, but they were certainly holding off any advance from the chasing crews behind. One of those crews being Andy Fraser and Alan Jones. This loop of stages going much better for the pair. They start to chip away at the top of the leaderboard, now in third place overall, just 5 seconds back from that Darien up ahead. Alex Allingham and Ross Weir, another of those chasing crews, still throwing that escort around the stages and entertaining the spectators. No loss of pace with that sideways action either. They continue to hold on to that 4th place overall at this stage. And there's a slight change now for Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff. They keep the pace up, reaching service with 5th place, just 20 seconds back from Allingham's surely red mist setting in now. This due in part to the loss of John Indry from the results. That, of course, means a move for Mark Holmes and Mark Perryman the right way on that leaderboard as well, gaining a few positions to end this loop in 6th place now in the high-revving S2000 Fiesta. And things were still going well in Class C for this man, Daryl Morris, Steve Gully alongside. They lead the way there from 7th place on the overall leaderboard in the escort. Some of that movement on the results that we've seen so far would also affect Oliver Hopkins and Aled Edwards. They drop a position in this loop though, taking 8th place overall at this stage. And one crew that you might be wondering about if you've seen the entry that we haven't mentioned yet will be Gary Lequartu and Bill Painter. The ex-Works Hyundai WRC certainly looking great on the stages and adding some much needed variety out here in the rally world. They hadn't got off to the best of starts this morning, but things were going better now as they move up to 9th place inside our top 10. And rounding out that top 10 now will be Nick Beddoes and Jamie Vaughan. 3rd place in Class D for the pair at this stage in the rally as well. If you were wondering what had happened to previous 10th place Mike Simpson and Dale Gibbons, they slipped down a place in this loop. Now hanging on to 11th place overall, but still holding on to 2nd in Class H with that position. This loop would see the 2nd of the rally's sponsors' cars making its way into the top of the results. William Hill and Richard Crozier moving their way to 2nd in Class C after 12 stages. And the loss of John Indry further up the leaderboard, of course, would mean change in Class E. So 2nd place in that class now belonging to Craig Fleming and Paul Rumery, the Subaru pair, 13th place overall. Richard Hill and Pereira Davies have a good loop of stages, moving their way into the Class B lead now. They were going strong, and they'll be looking to keep hold of that through the final loop to take a strong position on their home rally and the one that bore their name above the door. 2nd in that class would, though, belong to Andrew Turner and Richard Winstanley. They were only 14 seconds off the class lead, so that final loop would mean it was all to play for. All this change on the leaderboard, though, there wouldn't be any change in Class A. Ben and Kevin Wilson in this loop continuing to lead the way in that class, although they were being hunted down. Just 20 seconds of a lead now. We could yet see some change here in Class A. And of course, that meant that Joe and Michael Evett were still gaining time on the class leaders up ahead after suffering with those intercom problems earlier on. Still second in class, but they'd be on for a big push through this final loop of stages. This weekend would mark the first ever closed road event competed on for Alan Marriage and Colin Jenkins, and they were loving it, as you might have expected. A few issues playing on their mind throughout the day, but it would, frustratingly, be clutch issues, causing them to eventually retire on stage 13.
60.
A bit more attrition as well. We'd also lose Dave Harris and Tony Edwards. They crash out on stage 8. Nothing too serious or dramatic, and they do manage to continue later in the day, but way down the order. So drama in the lanes then. We have just one more loop of stages remaining for the crews to tackle here at the 3 Shires stages. And it's all eyes on that leaderboard, because so far it has been all change, and there could yet be more of that. For now, here's how the leaderboard is shaping up. We're on to the final loop of stages now, and the results haven't been settled just yet. Ben and Kevin Wilson dropping down from that class lead that they'd held all morning to take second in Class A at the finish. We'd had our eye on that big push from Joe and Michael Evett in the previous stages, and they put an even bigger one in. A great few final stages to take the class win late in the day after those intercom problems earlier in the event. Gravel rally regular Gary Bollins will be out this weekend and sampling the closed road lanes. Kevin Lane alongside him for the first time as well. The car still in full gravel setup for this weekend, but that wasn't stopping them having some fun and going well with it. 5th place in Class E, 20th overall. There's no change in Class B though through the final stages. Andrew Turner and Richard Winstanley keeping hold of that second position. Unable to catch the leaders, but consolidating that second position with 17th on our overall leaderboard. That, of course, means that it's victory in Class B going to Richard Hill and Perida Davies. A great result for the pair, taking the win in the class by around 30 seconds. Mike Simpson and Dale Gibbons, meanwhile, were unable to advance back up the leaderboard into our top 10. They'd have to settle for 12th place this weekend, but they do still take second in Class H. The second of our Hills putting in a good performance. This time it's William with Richard Crozier alongside, taking second in Class C at the end of the rally, finishing just outside the top 10 as well, with 11th place overall. Well driven in that Fiesta this weekend. So we move on to the top 10 leaderboard, and it would be Craig Fleming and Paul Rumery rounding out the top of the overall results. Second place in Class E for the pair with it as well. For Nick Beddoes and Jamie Vaughan, it would be 9th. They take second in their class as well with that result this weekend. It hadn't quite been the day that Gary LeQuadru and Bill Painter would have wanted, or that they were in some places expected to take, but 8th place overall was a good end to the event after working their way back up the leaderboard in that fantastic looking and sounding Hyundai WRC. It's a similar story for Oliver Hopkins and Aled Edwards as well, not quite performing as they would have hoped. They end the rally 7th place overall, but they do manage to take the Class E victory this weekend in that Mirage. And the trip over from Jersey would have been a worthwhile one at the end of the day for Darryl Morris and Steve Gully. They take the Class C victory as well as a fantastic 6th place overall. For Mark Holmes and Mark Perryman, it would be 5th. A strong end to the rally for the pair this weekend as they also take 3rd in Class F. Second in that class, and just ahead on the leaderboard, would be Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff. A good run all day, rewarded with a great finish for the Fiesta pair. We see a little change in our podium positions now, losing Roger Moran from the leaderboard, which meant that a great 4th place for Alex Allingham and Ross Weir would now become a 3rd. A fantastic end to the rally for the Escort pair, who had proved once and for all that sideways can also be fast. It would be a welcomed result as well for Andy Fraser and Alan Jones. Andy not always having the best of luck in recent times out on the stages, but when things go his way, the pace is certainly there to match it. Second place overall this weekend for the Darien pair. But taking victory, and with it, putting their name firmly in the UK rally history books with this, the first running of a fantastic new closed road rally. It would be Martin and Dawn England, leaders of the event from the early stages, and taking victory on this, the inaugural Hills Ford 3 Shires Stages rally for 2019. So a tricky but successful rally complete. Congratulations to all of our finishers and particularly to the rally organisers. A lot of work going into rallies like this. The final leaderboard looked a bit like this. Well, what action we've seen on the stages today, the atmosphere, the amount of spectators, the thrills and spills, and the changes to that leaderboard through those 48 miles over those 18 stages. I think you'll agree a big well done is in order to everybody who helped make this happen, from the organisers to the county councils to all of the local residents who got behind this, and of course the marshals and officials working hard out there on the stages today. The Hills Ford 3 Shires rally has been a success. That place behind me, East Newcastle, might not be a place of massive historical significance, but I tell you what, today, as a spectator special stage, bringing back those stately home stages of old that we all love so well, it gained a very important piece of its history and its story, and we hope it'll be back next year. Thank you for watching Special Stage.